Hey, it's me, Galileo. Most of you know me as the man who invented a telescope that allowed me to observe the moons of Jupiter, the rings of Saturn, the phases of Venus, sunspots, and the lunar surface. Based on my findings, I concluded that the popular scientific theory of geocentrism was not completely accurate and that the sun was actually the center of the solar system. The Catholic Church's beliefs fully supported geocentrism as it agreed with their teachings found in the Holy Scriptures. Although I grew up believing what the Church thought, throughout my research I found contradicting evidence. My dear friend Copernicus supported what was known as the heliocentric model. He believed that the sun was at the center of our solar system, as did I. I supported the idea that the planets rotated around the sun in a fixed motion. However, the Catholic Church didn't like that and publicly scrutinized me for my scientific findings because it contradicted what they believed.
The four satellites orbiting Jupiter, he wrote to Johannes Kepler to vent about the stubborn theologians that refused to show any interest in heliocentrism. As Galileo says, the philosophers refused to even look through a telescope, even after Galileo offered them many opportunities to do so.
My dear Kepler, I wish that we might laugh at the remarkable stupidity of the common herd. What do you have to say about the principal philosophers of this academy who are filled with the stubbornness of an asp? Do not want to look at either the planets, the moon, or the telescope. Even though I freely and deliberately offered them the opportunity 1,000 times, truly, just as the asp stops its ears, so do these philosophers shut their eyes to the light of truth.
Benito Castelli, a good friend and old student of Galileo's, defended Galileo when Cosima Boscaglia, a professor of philosophy from the University of Pisa and the first person to make such an accusation, claimed that Galileo was guilty of heresy. Galileo wrote a letter expressing his beliefs about heliocentrism to Castelli, which Niccolò Lorini somehow obtained a copy of. Niccolò Lorini and the other Dominicans at the convent of San Marco believed that Galileo's beliefs, which he expresses in the letter to Castelli, are heresies because they violate core beliefs of Catholicism. Because Niccolò Lorini and the other Dominicans at the convent of San Marco were convinced of Galileo's heresies, they sent a copy of the letter to the church in hopes that the church convicts Galileo.
Who does Lorena think he is sending the letter that I wrote to Castelli into the church accusing me of heresy? Once I am healthy enough, I plan to take a trip to Rome to clear my name of these false accusations. I understand the church believes heliocentrism to contradict the literal meaning of the scriptures. While I'm there, I also plan to enlighten church authorities of the heliocentric fundamentals because I know them to be true.
After the church decided that Galileo doctrines of heliocentrism contradict the Holy Scripture, they sentenced him to abstain from teaching, defending, or discussing his doctrine and to abandon heliocentrism. The thought that the sun is motionless in the center of the world and that the earth is the center completely. If Galileo is to follow orders, he was told he would not receive further punishment and is safe from persecution.
As the idea that the sun is fixed is irrational and heretical and contradicts the Holy Scripture, we sentence Galileo Galilei to refrain from not only teaching but also defending all Copernican ideas and to abandon them completely. As long as Galileo agrees, he will not receive any further punishment and safe from persecution. Robert Bellarmine, stupid name, will personally inform Galileo of these restrictions. If we see fit, in the near future, all books in support of Copernican thought may be banned.
After Pope Urban VIII was elected pope, Galileo traveled to Rome to congratulate him. Pope Urban showed a greater interest in Galileo than Pope Gregory did, but that did not help Galileo as he was put on trial for a second time. Galileo published his dialogue concerning the two chief world systems in 1632 that the church highly refuted because of its extreme heliocentric viewpoint. Pope Urban ended up banning the book completely.
Galileo Galilei is found guilty of heresy because of his inability to follow the Holy Office's orders to not teach or spread his belief that the sun is in the center of the world. Galileo Galilei is sentenced to house confinement for the rest of his life.
Although Galileo was sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life, Galileo continued his scientific research.
In fact, in 1638, Galileo published a scientific book in Holland.
In 1992, around 350 years later, Pope John Paul II vindicated Galileo and apologized for the way the Church treated him. Pope John Paul II said, "Thanks to his intuition as a brilliant physicist and by relying on different arguments, Galileo, who practically invented the experimental method, understood why only the sun could function as the center of the world, as it was then known, that is to say, as a planetary system. The error of the theologians of the time, when they maintained the centrality of the earth, was to think that our understanding of the physical world structure was in some way imposed by the literal sense of sacred scripture."